Alright, Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. I've been very outspoken about this match, basically talking about Undertaker is a little bit over the edge. That basically Undertaker has had a long career inside of the WWE, and losing the streak at WrestleMania was the way that they should have rode Undertaker off on that white horse and basically said, this is a career. Maybe you take a year, wait until you have WrestleMania in Dallas, which is in the home state of Texas of The Undertaker, and let him go out in his own way. Put him out to the pasture there at the Hall of Fame, and then Undertaker can do whatever he wants to do. He's talked about, wanting to be a manager of some MMA fighters, trying to be some help to some people in the wrestling business. But basically, Undertaker has said in a lot of interviews that he's not going to be hanging around WWE shows. You can tell that Undertaker is trying his best to stay away from the business as much as possible. You don't really hear about Undertaker sightings at house shows or backstage or things like that. Basically, Taker is almost pretty much removed from the business as it is, except for the call from Vince McMahon, hey, we're going to use you at WrestleMania this year. It's about the only time that they use this guy. If you can remember, after WrestleMania 29, he tried to extend his welcome a little bit longer than WrestleMania. He went and did the European tour where he took the triple powerbomb from the Shield, and that was supposed to lead to something for him to wrestle at SummerSlam, but it turns out Taker's body couldn't take the triple powerbomb. And that was all she wrote from there. Bray Wyatt seems to be the guy that needs to be moving into this Undertaker role. I've heard from a lot of people, including Jim Ross, that when you look at Bray Wyatt, he seems to come off like he would be a better babyface in the role that he is now. People like this guy. People don't want to hate this guy. It's one of the reasons why when Undertaker, really started out, people really, got behind this guy and they really, feared him. I remember as a kid looking at Undertaker and really being in shock and awe, and that worked for a good long time. And basically when Undertaker was smart and he, switched the gimmick up and he went to the All-American badass, I guess you can say, big evil Undertaker riding his motorcycle around, that was pretty much the right time, because you could see the writing on the wall that the gimmick was done just about anything and everything that Undertaker could do. Bray Wyatt came in to a huge amount of pressure on him. People were looking at Bray like he was going to be the next coming of Undertaker. He came in and he had that match at SummerSlam against Kane, which was his debut match. And a lot of people thought that it didn't live up to the expectations and that Bray Wyatt sort of needs to find a little bit of ways to switch up the character. Bray Wyatt is the guy that gets on the microphone and delivers these great promos, but when you break it down to the end, he ain't saying anything. And the stuff that he is saying, you got to look it up in a dictionary to find out some of the words that he's saying and trying to figure out the second meaning of all these things. Like, he has a great tone to his voice to these promos, but sometimes the promos can lead you down a road to where you're falling asleep while you're watching him. Undertaker versus Bray, honestly, in my mind, really, really got kicked off on Monday when Undertaker made his appearance in the big quotation marks there with, the Undertaker voice that probably came from some 1990, rest in peace promo. I don't think that's the Undertaker of today. I'm pretty much sure that sounded like old Undertaker in my book, or I don't know. But the one thing that I know is I saw a posting by Michelle McCool on her Instagram of Taker working out and getting ready for this match. And that's the one thing that's not. Undertaker is looking big and bad. I've said a lot of bad things about The Undertaker, about looking at pictures of him on Instagram, of people taking pictures of him at airports, traveling around, or people, taking a picture of him in front of the subway, or, everybody's seen the pictures that everybody's seen. You don't see a lot of them, but when you do, you're sort of in shock and awe. I know that when a lot of football players and a lot of pro wrestlers, they get out of that line of work, their body seems to slim down a lot because they're not training as hard as they once did. They're not, going all at it. But Taker, to me, morphed into this, almost 70-year-old man where he just looked broken down, bittered and bruised, almost like he was going to be starring in The Wrestler, Part 2, coming to DVD soon. But I don't know, Taker, with the voice and the smoke coming out of the urn, shooting the lightning bolt out of the ceiling down and lighting Bray Wyatt's rocking chair on fire, and there on the screen read the words, The Man Comes Around, and people will know that that's a Johnny Cash song. And if you go to YouTube, it's not hard to find the song. It's a very slow sort of. It's Johnny Cash style. It doesn't fit in with country music of today. You're really gonna have to like country music in order to like this song. But when you break down the words, I listened to the song and it was all right for a Johnny Cash song. And I was sort of catching the lyrics as they went along. But when you look in the description box of the YouTube video, if you find the same one and you see the words, this fits Undertaker to a T. I mean, this is ain't no grave. Like WrestleMania 27 was. That was one hell of a song that really fit that. And then bringing Metallica into the Hell in the Cell at WrestleMania 28 was even better. But this is the story of pretty much, a man meeting his maker. And then what happens from there, which path he chooses to go down after that. And, it sort of relates to Undertaker going up against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 30. He finally met a man at WrestleMania that was greater than him, and he lost. And they're pretty much saying that led to the death of Undertaker. And now they're pretty much putting it as Bray Wyatt is his path in afterlife. Is Undertaker going to follow the road that leads him to heaven? Is he going to lead from the is he going to drink from the offered cup, or is he going to take the road that leads him to hell? And that's been a road that Undertaker has been taking for a long path on his career. We've seen him as a good guy, we've seen him as a bad guy, and now we have to see what fight Undertaker is going to take here from Bray Wyatt. There's a lot of roads they can go down, whether if it's Undertaker getting the win so everybody can say their tearful goodbyes and wave to Undertaker, knowing that more than likely this is the last Undertaker match that we will ever see, or will they have somebody really just dispose of Bray Wyatt? I've been talking about the death of Undertaker, killing him off to the point where we know we're never going to see him again. If Bray Wyatt exposes this man and shows us all that he's not the hero that we remember from 1991 or 1995. I mean, this Undertaker is old and haggard, bittered and bruised. He's been through too many battles, and he's not going to be able to fight this last war against Bray Wyatt. Is Bray going to be, granted king of the, spiritual world or whatever it is Bray Wyatt does? Bray Wyatt was able to hypnotize, Luke Harper and sometimes hypnotize Daniel Bryan. He also had Eric Rowan, and he released those guys. And as a singles guy, Bray Wyatt doesn't have the strength in numbers that he once did. He was able to stand up in a war against Dean Ambrose. It was nice to see him fight his own battles. He was getting wins. They were matches that didn't really matter, but he was getting wins, and that's a good thing for Bray. And, he's a big piece of the WWE puzzle. You can see at WrestleMania, he's going up against, one of the biggest legends of all time. If you look at his Royal Rumble highlights, he was in there for I believe over 40 minutes. He was the guy that got to eliminate Daniel Bryan. He seemed to be the guy that got the most eliminations. I believe he had 9. I could be wrong. But they made Bray look as strong as about anybody else. From thinking back about that Royal Rumble, he probably got the Diesel or Mabel moment of the night where, he just basically stood in the ring and said, bring me another one. Bring me another one. And I'll toss him out, and you bring me another one, I'll toss that guy out too. Bray is looking as strong as he's ever looked in his career. If they're going to build him another stable, and he can go from there, or is Bray going to stand alone? Is the story that they're going to have to tell this year at WrestleMania? It's a tricky match. I mean, like, you look at all the Undertaker matches of the past, whether if it's Edge, Batista, the Triple H matches, the Shawn Michaels matches, CM Punk matches, they were all great. Guaranteed, you look at that, it's the match of the night. It's the match that you're going to remember as saying, like, that was worth my money. I'm glad I ordered that pay-per-view. I'm glad I bought that DVD. I'm glad I watched this on the WWE Network. That is the match that makes those WrestleManias. The Undertaker match didn't do that for me. It was a very slow match. It was very sloppy. It was almost like, Brock Lesnar was having to lead Undertaker through that match. He got dropped on his head about the 3-minute match. The 3-minute mark of the match. And from there, it was lights out for Taker. He didn't know, what was up and what was down. How he got through that match, I have no clue. But I'm sure Paul Heyman and Brock were able to, help remind him, where he was at and where they were going. And sometimes the brain just works off of emergency fuel that he has. I can tell you that I can go either way on this. I would love to see Bray Wyatt get the win, because the point of basically Bray Wyatt being a big part of WWE's future. But, then again, you don't want to see anybody really lose their last WrestleMania match. I mean, Stone Cold versus Rock at WrestleMania 19, you remember that? Everybody's, thinking about that because everybody wants Stone Cold Steve Austin to return for WrestleMania 32, wrestle one more time in his home state of Texas. But, that match was so many years ago, and does Taker want to go out the same way that Stone Cold did? Stone Cold's a legend. Stone Cold lost his last match to The Rock. He still had more wins over Rock at WrestleMania, 2 wins to 1. So he wins that war, but I don't think anybody really remembers Stone Cold Steve Austin going out the losing way. Of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin would come back and he'd work for the company as the sheriff role on Monday Night Raw. He would come back, get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and he has a few moments along the way since being put in the WrestleMania Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 25. The appearances have been few and far in between. Now you get to see him more on the WWE Network interviewing Vince McMahon and Triple H than you do get to see him showing up the shows. The last show that he was actually on was WrestleMania 30. Before that one was WrestleMania 27. So this guy goes long gaps in between the times we get to see him. But I don't think anybody really looks at him and says, he lost his last match. But if Taker would get in there and do the favors for Bray Wyatt, it would do a miracle job to Bray. I think killing him at last year in the WrestleMania match against John Cena really put the smoke out on this guy, where he was really exposed that he wasn't really a player in the upcoming future. WWE, at the old age of John Cena, still had more plans for Cena in the upcoming year than they did for Bray. Bray got to go out there and wrestle in a steel cage match and get the win due to the scary kid on the outside, but he wasn't able to overcome the last man standing match where he got locked into a box, and he wasn't able to win that. So I would love to see Bray get the win. I'd love to see Taker get the win so we can all say our goodbyes the right way, and he can ride off on that white horse into that sunset, and hopefully come back someday on a old school Raw or something like that. The Undertaker gimmick is a hard one to bring back. But honestly, when it comes down to it, if you need him on a certain show, the dead man coming out is going to be easily a most memorable and a very, very long-lasting memory that everyone will remember and everybody will hope to be at that show.